Hello and welcome to another edition of the Moving Iron Podcast. This podcast is proudly provided by Axon, helping dealers move more iron for almost 100 years. Find out more at axontire.com. Axon was started almost 100 years ago out of a passion for keeping agriculture moving. It's that same passion that drives them today. With a vision for a better experience for both farmer and dealer, they set out to create a better way to move more iron. When you partner with Axon, you get immediate access to a full range of products and solutions designed to meet the complex needs of today's grower. Axon carries all major brands and sizes of tires, wheels, and tracks. From custom colors and sizes to fully customized wheels, you can have the solution for virtually any problem today's farmer is trying to solve. To find more or become an Axon dealer, please visit axontire.com.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast Markets. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Axon Tire, helping dealers move more iron for the past 100 years. For more information, go to axontire.com and TractorZoom delivering insights. If you're looking for a great place to go see what has happened in the auction market, go to TractorZoom's Iron Comps and you'll get all the latest information about the auction data that is out there from about 500 independent auction houses. So make sure you check that out. And if you like what you see, use Moving Iron at checkout and you get yourself a nice little discount. Chip Nellinger is with me today, and Chip is with Blue Leaf Agmarkets out of Morton, Illinois. And this is our second time this week to have this discussion. And Chip is nice enough to come on and do this. Well, Chip, we had the WASDE Report come out today, and a lot of I wasn't expecting this, I guess. Let's put it that way. I mean, typically this time of the year, you don't see this kind of stuff come out, but the USDA is really showing kind of where they're at as far as carry out and those kind of things go. And I guess, so what's your reaction to the overall report here, Chip?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a shock, quite honestly, that they went down in yields. There was a lot of fear going into this report that they're going to go up in yields and, just kind of typical grind lower into harvest. And we got some surprises. I guess one of the biggest surprises is corn yields, 174.6. That was 4.9 bushels below last month. So 4.9 bushel cut in corn yields, 0.8 of a bushel cut in bean yields down to 50. So they did tweak the demand a little bit. The carryout was cut, actually left unchanged for new crop beans. They're massaging the numbers a little bit to, they're so tight. I mean, essentially we're at the tightest stocks to use ratio in history on beans. So they're not going to go under 155 no matter what.
Right.
Corn carry out 1.242. That was down 190 million, but they also cut 190 million out of demand under the assumption that prices are going higher. They raised corn, the average farm price by 15 cents a bushel to $5.75. That's a cash price, and so exploded higher immediately after that report. We didn't close very well. We still closed higher, but we closed corn, somewhere around 571.5. That the high of the day was 594.25. So about 23 off the highs. Beans were also about 27.8 off the highs, barely higher on the day. Wheat was maybe the bright spot here, and they had a big cut, surprising cut in the world wheat carryout. They came in at 279.06. That was a big cut, about a 12 million ton cut, but it was actually about 1.1 million metric tons below the lowest estimate. And so wheat exploded higher. They cut the Russian wheat crop. They, are increasing demand. So that really is long-term friendly to corn. We had talked about this, Casey, in the past couple of podcasts we did on the grain side of, this wheat situation has changed. The feed grain situation has tightened up. And so it's likely they've got some more to cut on this thing from a world perspective in future reports, both from the Brazil corn standpoint. They did come down. They got kind of closer to the game here. They came down, I think 5 or 6 million tons, but they're still 3 or 4 million tons above some of the private estimates already in Brazil. And they likely have some cutting to do on the Russian wheat crop before it's said and done. So net world feed grain stocks are shrinking. They did, and this is a head scratcher. I haven't looked into this a little bit. They did up the world bean carryout a little bit, and that surprises me a little bit. I don't know what that's about, and I haven't had time since this came out a couple hours ago to really dig into that. So that's another reason why the bean market is, kind of lagging what corn and wheat did today, and might continue to do so. But bottom line here, if you're an end user and you are hoping for lower prices into harvest to, buy stuff cheaper, this threw a little bit of cold water in your face. From a producer standpoint, it probably opened the door up that we've got some better things, ahead of us on into winter, particularly when harvest gets wrapped up and everything gets tucked away into storage. And so pretty bullish, net here, especially the corn and the wheat side. Bullish on beans, maybe not quite as bullish as corn and wheat. And we'll see. The battle's still going to rage now until the September report in a month, because this wasn't objective field data. And so that's kind of the argument here, right? Well, these are the lowest yields you're going to see. There's been some rains around. Yields are going to go back up once they get in the field. They may or may not, but for the next 30 days, these are the numbers the market's going to trade on.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here that shows what's out there. This is the first time I've seen a report where, private estimates and the USDA are fairly close to each other. Right there with the USDA saying that 174.6 bushels per acre as the average yield. That number there, I don't know, last week I saw one that was 176, and I've seen some 175. So for them to be under that, those private estimates kind of shows you a little bit. But back to your point, a lot of people are going to say, well, when they start going down the I-80 corridor, we'll go back and talk about this again. So talk to a lot of folks, depending on where you're at, you've gotten plenty of rain or you haven't gotten enough. So it's going to be, it's like a hard line right in the middle of the eastern and western corn belt there. So I guess customers you've been talking to, Chip, what's some of the feedback you're getting, as far as what you're seeing out right now, as far as crop goes?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Mississippi River kind of is the cutoff, and the USDA reflected that, quite honestly. Let me get some of these state by states pulled up. They increased the Eastern Corn Belt. They got Illinois at a 214. That's 22 bushels above last year. They've got Indiana 7 bushels above last year. Ohio 22 bushels above last year. Pennsylvania 26 bushels. But then you look at the Western Corn Belt. Only 5 bushels above a year ago in Nebraska. And then South Dakota, 29 bushels below. Wisconsin, 7 bushels below. North Dakota, 33 bushels below. So, that is a pretty distinct, cutoff. It's feast or famine this year. And that's going to be, unfortunately, I think you're going to continue to debate that all the way to the January crop report. Yep. But the USDA seems like they've kind of zeroed that in. Now, you can argue, some people are saying Illinois is low. They're going to go higher in Illinois. They're going to go higher in Iowa. They may or may not. But I think point being, even if they go up 2 or 3 bushels, it's not a game changer. Pro Farmer starts next week. So we'll start seeing some data from Pro Farmer on their crop tour as they move across, their routes and check fields. But even if this market goes, if this yield goes up just a couple, 2-3 bushels, it still would be the biggest crop we've ever raised. So I'm not confident they're going to go up, but the argument's going to be that they're going to raise that a little bit. Even if they do, the world carryout of corn and wheat is much tighter than it has been the last 3 or 4 years. It's been on a pretty steep downtrend. Right. And, even with a record crop, we've got tighter stocks net in the world because of that drought in Brazil. And I'm not sure we fully have that factored in yet. That still is going to be something that we have to contend with here is what's the ultimate size of the Brazil corn crop and just how much are they going to export, because they hurt their sugar crop here recently too with some of these freezes that they've had, and just how much corn they're going to export in my mind is really a big question mark right now. And every bushel they don't export on the world market that they normally would is a bushel that we could potentially see, 1-for-1 correlation right to the bottom line with increased exports out of the United States.
Yep, especially that's a good point you made there, especially in Brazil, where so much of their economy is driven off of sugarcane ethanol for fuel. They're going to have to start looking at maybe some corn ethanol to kind of replace some of those stocks. That's a great point that you made there.
And there's talk they've already imported some Argentine corn, a month or so ago. So you could argue, okay, yeah, that was right ahead of their main corn harvest. They're going to supplement. But, the fact that they're importing corn from Argentina, I wouldn't be real hopeful right now that they're going to have a bunch of corn available to export on the world market. And, the bottom line in here is, if you threw the dart right now or how read the tea leaves from this, it's definitely, puts the fear into the end user side rather than the producer side, right? This isn't going to entice producers to sell a bunch. And it's going to maybe put a little more fear in the end users like, we might have a problem brewing here from a corn standpoint, from a wheat standpoint, from a wheat protein content standpoint. This thing was, that's a great performance in wheat today, 25, 26 higher into new contract highs for the Kansas City contract.
Right.
And it's probably an evolving thing, right? They're probably not going to go back up on world carryout. They probably only have further to tweak that lower. And, we're that alone, the wheat side of the equation alone is going to help spill over and support corn. So, I think from an end user standpoint, any breaks that they see, they're going to be much more aggressive maybe than they would have prior to this report coming out.
Right. Yeah, it's it is definitely a very bullish report from that perspective, and we've talked about it here. Kind of looking at this fall time frame and going into your typical harvest lows when harvest is going on. It might just be like last year where we see runs up, just like we did last year in the fall harvest there. So, like to your point, if you're an end user looking to buy some feed, you need to pay attention to those breaks and have that plan in place. So if folks want to talk to you about that, Chip, what's the best way to get a hold of you and talk about that plan moving forward?
Yeah, best way is just give us a call, 309-550-7213. We'd love to chat with you, whether you're the feed side of that equation or the producer side of that equation. We do plans and help people on both sides of the aisle. And to your point, Casey, that's a good point. Last year, different situation. That was the wind storm, through Iowa and parts of Illinois. But the August crop report marked the harvest low last year. And, we'll see. That wouldn't shock me if it doesn't this year. The thing about it is, you can hold your breath to September thinking the yields are going higher. But if they come out in September, get into the fields, and they don't go much higher, then we've got some real potential fireworks on that September report.
Exactly. Yeah. So pretty volatile next couple of months here, going through September and into October, and then finishing up in the northwestern part of the Corn Belt in November. So these next 3 months are going to be some very volatile times in the marketplace. And like you said, man, you got to have that plan in place and what you're going to do and what does that look like. So get that phone number one more time, Chip.
Yep, 309-550-7213. That's our main office number. It rings over to all our cell phones if we happen to be out of the office. So don't hesitate to call us. We'd love to chat with you.
Right on. Well, I'm Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Make sure you check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's where you're going to find the latest editions of the Moving Iron Podcast, as well as any blogs I post out there. Go to movingironllc.com for the latest information about the Moving Iron Podcast and the whole entire library, as well as all the blog posts I have out there as well. Moving Iron Summit is officially sold out. So if you were planning on coming to that, hit me up at Moving Iron Podcast at MovingIronPodcast.com, and I'll see if anything changes along the way there. But do feel free to send me send me an email, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So with that, I'm Casey Seymour with Chip Nellinger. Let's move some iron, folks. Out.
You want to have a meaningful competitive advantage to help sell more equipment. Whether you represent the sales, parts, or management department of an implement dealership, there's a surprising amount of complexity when it comes to tire, wheel, and track technology. Let Axon worry about that so you can get back to supporting your customers. Axon has leveraged years of experience to create a streamlined process that gives you a proven path to help today's grower and sell more equipment. The roots of their organization go back almost 100 years to the invention of the rubber tractor tire. Supporting agriculture is the number one driver of Axon, from product development through sales and service. To find more or become an Axon dealer, head over to axontire.com.
Moving higher in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving higher, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here.